On Abraham Lincoln's letter to his son's teacher, the poet father Abraham Lincoln has rightly said, "In the school teach him that it is far honorable to fail than to cheat." In this video, we are going to analyze the real-life application of failure in the vehicle driving test. What is failure? How does failure occur in a vehicle driving test? When the learner driver, that is me who is concerned here, goes for the theory test, 25 multiple choice questions are administered on road signs, priority and hazards. And the learner driver is in the theory test and passes because it is computer based assessment. Then there are 5 classes of parking practice in yard where the duration of one class is 45 minutes. Yes, the first attempt of parking indicates that it was a 90-degree parking and a parallel parking, and the learner driver, that is me, has failed. In the second attempt, the learner driver passes within a gap of 3 days in the 90-degree parking and parallel parking, and for that 4 hours durations classes were taken of 9 in number. Then 15 classes of evaluation based driving practice on road were taken by the driving instructor of 45 minutes duration each. In the year August 2019, 3 times the learner driver, that is me, appeared for the evaluation tests, and a checklist of 23 criteria were administered at each test as part of practical driving, and the duration of the classes also increased, and the number of classes also increased. However, it can be observed in the first and second attempt, the learner driver failed, and at the third attempt, the learner driver passed. Then we can observe that 10 classes of road driving practice, again of one class which is of 45 minutes duration, was taken on 17th of September, 24th of September, and 22nd of October. The test was being appeared for, and followed by which all 3 were failure attempts, again for which a checklist of 22 criteria were administered. And the hours recommended for driving instruction practice were 5 hours each. Total classes taken were 20. So even after 62 classes, the learner driver has appeared to have failed in the final road driving test. And this particular 3 tests were conducted by the police-based driving examiners. A self-assessment checklist of failure has been prepared by the learner driver, that is me here, and it refers to all the evaluation criteria that were selected and based on which the learner driver was being assessed for during the practical driving test. So the areas which are highlighted here were often part of the assessment criteria, and there were errors, and hence all the attempts in the final road driving test indicate towards failure. And the attempts here on all of the 6 days are displayed in this checklist, and all the errors are being noted by the learner driver on a self-assessment checklist. What is driver metrics? So all this failure which has been recorded in the checklist and also in the examiner's checklist also indicates that driver metrics is very important. So it points out basic questions like what are the factors that lead to repeated failure in a vehicle driving test? So some of the possible answers are failure is an outcome of a changed context or scenario situation based driving administered in a practical driving test that was quite different from the regular practice driving route. So the route taken by the driving instructor and that which was opted for by the driving examiner were 2 different routes, and that may have confused the learner driver at that moment. Adults with autism and dyspraxia need more hours of driving instruction and should not be neglected by their driving instructors in the aftermath of failure. So poor hand-eye coordination, faulty steering are factors responsible for development coordination disorders in learner drivers that needs to be attended to and given a lot of instructional practice by driving instructors so that the learners don't reach a frustrational point of failure. Failure can also result from driving examiner induced perceptions about the learner driver who is being tested. So if the driving examiner is not satisfied about the stability of the learner driver or the steering, whatever is being performed by the learner driver, and just observes at that moment and makes a conclusion that yes, this particular learner driver has to be failed, yes, that could be a possible cause of failure as well. So in a driving school, it is better if Abraham Lincoln's dictum has been followed. In the school, teach him that it's far honorable to fail than to cheat. So driving schools need to teach the learner drivers and especially the driving instructors that failure is part of driving and that can cause very, very threatening situations like accidents, even though as minor as they can be. But it is far honorable to fail than to cheat in a driving test or influence the driving examiner who is testing the learner driver. Thank you.